Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and Blizzard is finally making some awesome class changes for patch 8.1.5, the patch that signifies the coming of Kulturans and the Zandalari. Also, in previous expansions like Legion, 0.5 patches were often used in order to make radical class changes, or even minor, better class changes, something to improve the classes and how they play. One of the biggest parts of Battle for Azeroth from the beginning has been the issue of global cooldown. With Blizzard adding so many more abilities to the GCD, some classes simply started to feel clunky, let's say. One of the things that Blizzard is doing in this patch, however, is trying to make some of those big button cooldowns or certain talents a little bit easier to use and justify the whole idea of spending an entire global just to activate this powerful ability. Can they make some of these talents, some of these big button cooldowns feel far more useful in the long run? We'll start off with the Balanced Druid. There's a change to one of the major abilities which you guys don't see a lot of, and that is Celestial Alignment. The reason you never see Boomkins use Celestial Alignment for the most part is because everybody uses Incarnation, a far superior version that replaces Celestial Alignment. The ability itself takes a global to apply. That means there's a wasted global where you don't do anything. But Celestial Alignment is trying to make itself feel a little bit better and maybe even more competitive on a talent row. When you use Celestial Alignment, it now grants you 40 astral power and increases your spell damage by 15 as well as your haste for 20 seconds. So this way Blizzard is trying to incentivize the use of Celestial Alignment. Also, the ability itself never felt quite as powerful as Incarn. If you're gonna spend a global where you don't do anything but buff yourself, it might as well be Incarn, because the damage output from Incarn is far bigger than Celestial Alignment can provide. But when Celestial Alignment generates 40 astral power, that means you can pop Celestial Alignment, go into Star Surge, go into your rotational abilities, and then you're going, and then you're bursting. By adding a little bit of resource generation, Blizzard wants to make this ability feel a little bit better, and I feel like rotationally, Celestial Alignment has the opportunity to maybe become a valuable big cooldown. For Windwalker monks, they also change Energizing Elixir. Instead of granting you all your energy and your chi all in the same go on a GCD, so you're wasting energy when you have full bar and you have to spend a global chugging the elixir. Instead, now it'll grant you 2 chi and generate 75 energy over 5 seconds. This is good because this allows monks to maybe start using this ability rotationally. What was wrong with this ability is the fact that you're spending a global chugging the elixir, and when it gives you all of your energy back, that means you're still spending a global recovering energy because you're not using that global into a jab or into an ability that spends energy. So therefore, with the whole GCD thing, Energizing Elixir was wasting energy for you. But with this change, and I played around on a train dummy, if this ability is timed properly, the energy regen that it gives you is actually kind of smooth. It smooths out the rotation, it gives you energy over time, so it would use it kind of when you're at low energy and need chi. I personally like this as for PvE rotationally, this is gonna feel pretty good. I don't know if it's exactly gonna replace all whatever other talents you got for Energizing Elixir, but at least it makes Energizing Elixir make a little bit more sense with the concept of GCD and energy regen and wasting a global, not spending energy to get your bar of energy fully up. It just never really played well, it played kind of clunky, so this is a good change. The next is going to be for all 3 specs of Paladin. Upon using Avenging Wrath, your next ability is going to be a critical strike. For Holy Paladins, it's going to be Holy Shock, so you can use it to heal or to deal damage to an enemy. If you are Protection, you get Judgment, which will critically strike. And if you are Retribution, your next Templar's Verdict or Divine Storm will be 100% critical strike guarantee. For Paladins, they're pretty great class, I think. I think they're pretty strong, especially for PvP. But Avenging Wrath being on GCD is a little bit of, it's kind of not fun to mess around with. So, by adding this 100% guaranteed crit, it allows Red Pallies, Holy Pallies, and Prop Pallies to justify spending a global for this ability, since you're spending a global not doing damage, healing, or tanking. So then your next ability is going to have a double the effectiveness for it. It's going to crit, it's going to do more, it's going to heal for more, it's going to tank for more. So you simply just need to spend the global and you can get reverse value out of it as soon as you hit that ability button. So for Retribution Paladins, it was kind of cool to be able to get a lineup on a train dummy, for example, get all the debuffs, get all my buffs, get the judgment going, pop wings, and then get a massive beefy crit of Templar's Verdict guarantee with all of my cooldowns lined up. I thought it played really well, and I like this change. I think a lot of paladins, whether you DPS, tank, or a healer, can use this type of playstyle to try to combo that next ability after your wings, or shortly after popping wings, in order to get a little bit value. A healer needs to heal somebody who is in trouble in the raid, bam, popping wings. You spend a global, that's the global you're spending not healing somebody, bam, you get a massive heal. Protection, judgment. Ret, you can line up for a beefy burst to make sure you have a good opener every single time. The next on the list is the Rogue, and this one with Adrenaline Rush. This one is a very simple change, but one that some rogues have been asking for a while. So during Adrenaline Rush as an Outlaw rogue, you generally end up making way too much energy for you to spend, and the energy pool you're given is not enough for you to get through all your abilities to make sure you always have a global to press. You basically have pretty expensive abilities and an energy pool that's way too small, and energy is regenerating way too fast, so you end up losing out on a lot of value. So what Blizzard is doing is during your Adrenaline Rush, and this is simply a passive change to the ability, is granting you 200 energy. Or at least it says on the tooltip. Right now what it does is grants you 50 more energy. So if you're rolling like Deeper Strat, it'll give you 150 during your burst. If you're rolling Vigor, it'll give you 200 during your burst. I'm not sure exactly how Blizzard wants to change this ability and how much energy they want to give you, but even 50 energy extra to your overall pool of energy during Adrenaline Rush feels absolutely great. I feel like it gets me the ability to get through all of my abilities, and every single global that I spend doing damage actually feels like I'm able to get all those abilities out. I'm able to generate common points. I don't have any staggering going on. I don't have any weird energy things happening. I don't feel like I'm losing out on energy. It feels like you're getting more value for your buck. So this is a really small change. It doesn't actually play around the GCD, but it simply lets you get more value out of the cooldown, making the ability simply bigger, simply adding more to this ability since it's such a hot big button. And lastly, we have a talent for Restoration Shamans with Ascendance. Ascendance used to transform you into a Water Ascendant, and then it lets all of your abilities that you cast after transforming replicate and duplicate and separate to everybody around your party. So they actually added an immediate heal effect to this ability that will also start the duplicating and distribution process of a heal. So basically you'll have a double the heal, and that secondary heal is gonna distribute evenly amongst everybody else. So if you're casting like single target heals or AoE heals, it should give you a lot. But now this ability is going to start with a huge beefy burst of healing off the bat, and it's going to start the duplicating process off the bat, making this ability a lot more powerful. It wasn't all that exciting as a Restoration Shaman to have the big button of Ascendance, because you would have to pop Ascendance, wait a global until it goes on cooldown, then start casting abilities. So now you can actually use it as a very much emergency button and a great rotational ability, because it'll give you that immediate heal when you use it, so you're not really wasting a global not healing anybody. That's a fairly beefy heal for a GCD on its own, and then any other heals you do afterwards is gonna be duplicated. This is a way to make this ability feel powerful, so then when you use it, it feels like a splash, literally. Overall, I have to say, I'm kind of actually impressed with the changes. I like where their head is at. I know that they're not going to go back to the old expansions of how they do GCDs. So with that premise, how can they make the current buttons we have feel a little bit better? I feel like they're on the right track. I like the idea that you're giving more power to the player. I'm a huge fan that they're simply not making these abilities beefier. I am glad they're adding little elements like the one for Outlaw Rogue and one for Red Pally, where a good player can take advantage of that little bit of extra to their ability. and also justifying the GCD that's behind the ability to make it a little bit more powerful, but not by default like, hey, here's a 10% damage buff or something. I'm also a huge fan of how they're trying to add a little bit of the resource management to some of these abilities, and I think that's a good way to solve some of the playstyles. This is something we saw with Fury Warriors at the beginning of the expansion, when they're trying to solve the whole Bloodbath, Bloodthirst, big cooldowns, Avatar, combining all these abilities together by making them into an ability that will now apply a bleed and give you an extra ability. Maybe something that will use an attack and give you an extra buff. So they're tagging on all these things to make these abilities far more worth. Very happy with what they've done with it so far. Cannot wait for more updates. Let me know in the comments below, what are your favorite updates from these guys? Do you like any of these changes? And is there a class with that one big button that needs to be adjusted in a similar way? Let me know all that in the comments below. If you guys want to see more updates on the future of WoW and in the recent PTR, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and I'll see all of you guys in another one.